Regardless of good or evil intentions, it's easy to find fault with colonialism in the propagation of urban planning ideas, as well as the imposition of the Washington Consensus on debtor nations. The current era precariously straddles the value of planners sharing experiences globally and the peril of continued imposition of ill-fit ideas across world regions. This tension is true in practice, in scholarship, and in professional education. Planning education was predominantly a one-way street prior to 1990, with students from the Global South learning from academic staff, most often trained in the Global North. This was true regardless of whether the classroom was in the North or the South. It was also true that the pressures for North to South transfer resulted as much from a pull of forces in the South as they did from a push in the North. Since 1990, the planning education landscape has been changing. Increasingly, there are more schools, better resourced schools in the South. More than half of the schools in existence today did not exist in 1990. Increasingly, students are remaining in their home countries for their planning education. Increasingly, Southern educators are themselves the product of Southern schools, and increasingly, educators are reading and meeting across national boundaries. The first World Planning Schools Congress in Shanghai in 2001 was a landmark event in this progress. The Shanghai Statement was signed there, bringing 9 planning school associations together to promote the international exchange of planning ideas. GP and the Global Planning Education Association Network, which resulted, has promoted international dialogue among planning educators at a level not seen before. Planning journals feature many more voices than they used to. Editorial boards are more diverse. Quality is more widely dispersed across planning schools. All this being true, however, still today, many planning students travel to the Global North for planning education. Many planning journals feature the work of scholars in the North, predominantly, and many of the ideas taught both in the North and the South are Northern ideas. In the chapter on planning education in the Aesop Young Academics Practices and Theories of the Global South booklet, Melgasso and Rishi outline the dangers of Global North hegemony in planning education classrooms, point us on a path to reconstruct international planning education that serves all our nations and all our cities effectively. They remind us that context matters. They seek to find ways to decolonize planning education and advance the production of Southern theory. This is not dynamiting, it's surgical work. Melgasso and Rishi want us to challenge the reproduction of marginalized universals and uncritical agendas. They want to find the best thinking from each national context, test the boundaries of effectiveness of those ideas, and develop contingent universals using Healy's language or a global shared commons in Sanyal's language. They see international projects and exchanges as powerful learning tools. They call on educators to learn from their students. They commend the dialogues that global policy negotiations and debates have fostered. Following Melgasso and Rishi's advice in a neoliberalized university world will not be easy. The planning field is not level. Resources are not equal. Incentives encourage self-interest within universities. But the uniqueness of planning contexts demands that we succeed. As with so much in the booklet on planning practices and theories from the Global South, identifying the problem brings us a long, big first step toward finding solutions.